Maturing is realizing you're not a nice person, you are just a people pleaser. The difference between the two is so subtle that sometimes it's so easy to attribute people-pleasing behaviors to being kind, being easygoing, or just being a peace-loving person. So today I'm going to tell you how to distinguish between both of them, because this is what will empower you to make the right decisions without feeling guilty. The first way to differentiate between people-pleasing and being kind is the motivation behind the behavior. So when you're doing something with a genuine intent to be kind, is usually motivated by your confidence in your capacity to do that thing at that particular time. You know you can say no to it, but you're choosing to say yes because you know you can say yes. And if something happens or the circumstances change and you want to say no, you're not afraid to say no. You don't feel guilty about saying no. On the other hand, when you're doing something from a people-pleasing point of view, is usually motivated by fear. Is either fear that someone is going to get upset, fear of disappointment, fear of rejection, fear of anything whatsoever. Essentially, you're doing that thing to avoid certain consequences. So for instance, a friend's birthday is coming up and obviously you want to celebrate her or you want to do something nice for her. But instead of you to do something you know she will still like that is within your budget, you go ahead to just splurge on something you know will put you in a very difficult financial situation. Maybe after buying the birthday gift, you're not able to pay your rent or you're not even able to afford your meal. I understand there's a place of sacrifice when it comes to people you love, but when that is motivated from a point of I want her to see me as XYZ or I don't want her to get offended, if any of these is the motivation for you to go over and beyond to do those things, then that's people pleasing. But if you've looked at your financial situation and you feel like, even though I don't have, I still want to celebrate this person in this way and I'm willing to take the sacrifice, such that if this person doesn't even do that for you, you're still fine because it was just your decision to do that out of the abundance of your love for this person. Another instance would be that maybe someone is asking you to do something and you've genuinely looked at your time schedule and you're not able to fit it in. But instead of you to communicate and say you're not able to, just for the fear of not being able to say no, or that you're going to feel guilty that this person is not going to see you as a nice person, you just say yes to it. That's people pleasing. I've once shared on this channel before about how much of a people pleaser I used to be, and one of the things I needed to start learning to do was being intentional about when I said yes and no. And to be able to do that, I needed to go through a series of questions in my head before I said yes or no to something. But instead of complicating things by telling you all the random things I had to think about before I make a decision, I've put them together in a flowchart. So if you're someone who struggles to say no, but you definitely want to gain more confidence in being able to tell people no without feeling guilty, then this flowchart was designed specifically for you. You can download a copy of it and paste it anywhere on your walls or somewhere visible, such that if you come to a crossroad or before you make decisions you would typically just say yes to, you just quickly go through that flowchart. Like I said, the link is in my description box. The second difference between being a people pleaser and being nice is in how you feel after carrying out a particular action. So naturally, it's expected that when you do something nice for people, you're supposed to be excited about it, confident, you're supposed to be empowered, you're supposed to feel like you've achieved something, you're supposed to feel that inner satisfaction that says you really impacted on someone's life. But on the other hand, if after doing something all you feel is resentment, you feel cheated, you feel like someone forced you to do something you typically didn't want to do, then you were just a people pleaser in that situation. And this is not even about that particular action being convenient or not, because there are certain times when something is really inconvenient for you, but when you do it from a genuine point of kindness, you still have this overwhelming joy coming from within, like, I sacrificed this thing to be able to do this thing for this person, and you can see how much satisfaction it brings the person, which makes you happy as well that you were able to contribute in that way. But with the people-pleasing behavior, even when it is done conveniently, you just realize you were just not happy about it. Something about it makes you uncomfortable. That's how you know you were doing something out of a people-pleasing mindset. So for example, you were invited for an event. You check your schedule and you're not able to accommodate it. But somehow you've looked at the person involved or the people involved or the occasion itself or the event itself or whatever, for whatever reason, you attend, even if it wasn't convenient for you. By the time you return from that event, even though originally you didn't plan to attend and you needed to make time for it, you still feel great, you still feel very accomplished. On the other hand, you choose to attend, and by the time you return, you're feeling exhausted, you feel drained, you feel like you've made the worst mistake of your life. That was people pleasing. The third way to differentiate between being nice and being a people pleaser is in the boundaries. Kindness operates within limits. When you're carrying out those actions, you're intentionally making a decision based on who is involved, what time is involved, what activities are involved, and if they align with what you value, what you're interested in, and what you're happy to spend your time doing. But when it comes to people pleasing, right, you're just doing everything just for doing sake. No intentionality, no thought behind it, nothing whatsoever. Just saying yes to anything just because you cannot open your mouth to say no. For example, if you're someone who is in the habit of going lengths above and beyond for every single person, you're a people pleaser. That's not being kind, unfortunately. I'm so sorry to say. Because the problem here is you don't have boundaries for who you do certain things for. You do all those great things for people. And because the relationship is not reciprocal, you guys don't share the same kind of commitment towards that relationship. Of course, they're not going to say no. They're not going to say, oh no, I'm not going to accept your gesture because we're not that close. Of course, they're going to accept it. But the problem is it will not be reciprocated. And because it's not reciprocated, resentment starts to set in. Even if resentment doesn't set in, you just burn yourself out for nothing. Like I said, kindness and niceness means you have certain criteria for how you interact and how far you go for different kinds of people. Let me also tell you this. If you realize you're always upset or you feel cheated when someone else prioritizes themselves over you, it might be a sign that you're also doing a lot of things out of a people-pleasing mindset, because you're going out of your way to do things for people who would typically not go that far for you, which is not wisdom. I hope this helps you to think about a lot of your actions in a more intentional way. And don't forget to get the flowchart using the link in the description box below if you're someone who struggles to say no and you want to quit people-pleasing behavior. It's easy, it's straightforward, and you'll find it so valuable. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!